spokesperson and communications director of the Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia campaign team. He's joined us on the line. You're welcome to Eyewitness News, sir.
Oh, thank you.
It appears that the last lines of the good old professor are lines that are going to haunt your candidates for a long time. The issue about he describing himself as a driver's mate. Professor Jane Naana Opoku-Agyemang says it is not something she would do. She finds it to be a self-serving commentary that was made by your boss. What do you say to that? Because it appears that this is a comment that would really be a difficult one for you to explain.
I think the difficulty rather is the complete lack of understanding and ignorance on the part of the running mate of the National Democratic Congress. Maybe in her attempt to try and throw jabs, she completely forgot where she was standing and took herself out of context. I don't know whether you've read or you've listened to. In fact, I think I was at the UPSA with you when the Vice President spoke, and I'd quickly read. After he had enumerated almost about 50 or so achievements of the government. In fact, on paragraph 107, the Vice President said, what we have been able to accomplish so far shows that it is possible for Ghana to achieve many things that some believe to be impossible. It is possible if we put our minds to it. We need to break the shackles of impossibility and embrace the mindset of possibility. My vision. Ladies and gentlemen, and it's important, he said, my vision, my vision. Ladies and gentlemen, as Vice President, I am like a driver's mate. I am like a driver's mate. It's a simile, like a driver's mate. But if by the grace of God, you make me president, I will be in the driver's seat with constitutionally mandated authority to pursue my vision and my priorities. So what do I want to do in terms of vision, priorities, and policies if you give me the opportunity? By the grace of God, to become president of the Republic of Ghana. Then he went on to enumerate his vision and his plans. He went on to list 70 points, 70 propositions. Now, there is nowhere in the Vice President's speech did he ever say that he's describing himself as a driver's mate only because the government has encountered challenges. Context. The person with the difficulty is the running mate of John Dramani Mahama, who has completely taken himself out of context in an attempt to throw unnecessary jabs. Now, let's even go back to that analogy and even assume that she understood the analogy. On the trip or in the journey, in the car, there are three stakeholders. There is a driver, there is the passengers or the passenger, and then there's a driver's mate. Each of these stakeholders have clear-cut responsibilities. The driver's responsibility is to lead, drive, steer the vehicle, and take us to our destination. The mate's responsibility is to load the vehicle, provide customer care or customer service, and ensure that the passengers are comfortable and are able to alight where they're supposed to alight. It does not mean that the mate is a mere mate. Nowhere did the Vice President say a driver's mate is a mere mate. A driver's mate has clear-cut responsibilities, which are not the same as the driver's. It is different from being a driver's mate whose responsibility is to load the car, provide customer care, ensure passengers are alighting and getting on board at the right places. Completely different from the driver who is determining the destination, determining which traffic light to stop at, determining which pothole to stop. That does not mean that the mate has no responsibility on the vehicle. But that does not also mean that the mate and the driver's responsibilities are the same. I'm sorry. What you need to do is to call the professor and ask her, if you are not the driver's mate on the journey, are you the passenger? If you are not the passenger, are you going to be the driver? If you are going to be the driver, then what happens to the driver that we are going to be voting for? And if you are going to be the passenger, then who is going to be the driver's mate to provide customer care, to load the vehicle and get passengers to alight? The difficulty is with Naana Jane and not Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. It was clear, it was unambiguous, it was contextual, it was an analogy, and that analogy was best fit for the the statement that he delivered.
But you see, the vice president spoke to 34 million Ghanaians, and the general refrain is that he has sold out his boss or thrown his boss under the bus. And that's why in my initial comment, I said this particular comment would be a difficult one. With hindsight, do you think that is a comment that perhaps you could have avoided so that all this unnecessary controversy?
I just quoted to you. There is no controversy whatsoever. I just quoted to you what he said. That is why I said.
But I'm just saying that generally people.
No, that is not true. Generally, I don't have that feel. People know what a passenger, a driver, and a driver's mate job is.
People say that. In fact, I interviewed Sammy James. He says that a driver's mate is an integral part of the whole journey, and that
absolutely
a driver's mate is what you describe as a sit-in driver,
which is correct.
And that wherever the driver is not available, the mate does that. But for a mate to
false,
say that,
but that is not true. That is not true.
For
a driver's mate, a driver's mate doesn't sit in when the driver is not there. That is false, and you know that.
In the trotro stations, maybe you haven't. I don't know. Maybe you haven't gone to a trotro station in a long time.
What are you talking about?
A lot of the times. Let me make the point. The listeners will tell us if it's true or not. Mates usually do the parking of the vehicles.
Yes.
At the trotro station,
and
correct?
Load the vehicle, yes. But they don't sit in the driver's seat and drive.
No, I mean they park the car. Sometimes when they go home, they park the car.
But
so that's driving. So they drive the car.
No. That's his fault. The driver's mate doesn't take the driver's wheel and drive the vehicle to the destination when the driver is not there. That's not true. That is not true. And I'm also saying that I have read and quoted to you, the vice president was categorical, he was emphatic, he was clear, without any ambiguity. The person who has completely taken herself out of context and thrown herself away is Naana Jane, and she's the one you should call and ask, Madam, if you are not a driver's mate, then what are you? Because going by your own analogy, if we're even going to use the trotro station, when you take the trotro as a vehicle, there are only three stakeholders. There are no middle ground. You are either the driver, or the driver's mate, or the passenger. Ask her which one she is. She's the one who has answers or questions to answer, not Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia.
I think former President Mahama, when he spoke to introduce her yesterday, described himself as a co-driver when he was vice president to Mills. Could that be the angling of the NDC, and maybe that's more appreciable or something more respectful to use to your boss than say your mate?
Well, I don't know which one you are quoting, but what every Ghanaian knows that in 2016 he said he was a spare driver. He never said he was a co-driver. He said he was a spare driver. At the debate that Naana Jane was a moderator, he said he was a spare driver, which is even worse.
Are you sure spare driver is not better than mate?
Do you know what spare drivers do at trotro stations? They are the guys who are idling under the shed and playing draft until when they have nothing to do. They have no vehicle to drive. They are idling. They don't sit in the vehicle on the journey. They stay at the lorry park idling and playing draft and dummy and ludo, so that in case a driver is sick or the driver doesn't show up, they go and take it and do ala and come back and pack it for the actual driver. That is worse. The driver's mate has a specific responsibility, which is crucial, critical for the journey. Crucial, critical for the journey. The spare driver is idling at the bus stop, waiting only for a driver who couldn't show up. So they'll go and take their car, use it for the day, and bring it back for the actual driver to come and take it. Spare driver is worse. I'm sorry.
Based on her performance yesterday and comparing that with how she did in 2020, there appears to be a much more improvement in her politicking and in her delivery. Does her speech yesterday or her delivery yesterday, would that influence in any way your choice of a candidate to be running mate to Dr. Bawumia?
Absolutely not. I think that the electorates go to vote for a presidential candidate, not necessarily the running mate. What the presidential candidate does is to nominate a running mate they believe can complement them. And I think I've constantly made that point, that if you are a presidential candidate, you are looking for that person who will fit in and provide support for you in areas that you you fall short. So your weaknesses. So after doing your SWOT, you know what your strengths are, you know what your weaknesses are. And then you go look for that one person that has strength that will fill in the gap where your weaknesses are, and that is what Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is going to look at in the selection of his running mates.
You're not scared of Professor Nana's delivery.
Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is in contest with John Dramani Mahama. They are the two people who are going to be on the ballot paper, and these are people we've seen before.
So that will be your focus, not the running mates.
Absolutely. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia's competition, his contest, is a former president.
Are you suggesting that running mates don't play any roles in elections at all?
I'm saying that in the selection of my running mates, I'm not looking at who the other opponents have selected. I'm looking at what my strengths and weaknesses are.
Very well.
And who will complement me. That is what I look at.
Very well.
And so I am going into a contest. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is going into a contest. He's looking at who is this one person that would bring in these elements that I do not possess for the good of the party and for the good of the country.
Very well. When is your campaign going to announce the running mate, by the way?
Well, we are very much within timeline. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia was elected barely 6 months ago. And so we still have time. If you recall, he himself, in his nomination in 2008, it was done somewhere in August 2008. So for us in the MPP, we are very much within our timeline.
So should we expect the announcement in August?
It can be tomorrow, it can be next week, it can be next month, it can be 3 days from now. The flag bearer at this point is very clear in his mind who his running mate is going to be, and he when he's ready, he's going to announce that.
Is it going to be this month, next month?
It could be next week. It could even be tomorrow morning.
Very well. Thank you so much for speaking to us.
Thank you.
That's Dennis Miracles Abuaje, his spokesperson, Director of Communications to the Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia campaign team.